Success as an ACN independent business owner, IBO, is not guaranteed, but rather influenced by an individual's specific efforts. No one can be guaranteed success as an IBO. This presentation was recorded during the Gold Coast International event, 27 to 29 September 2019. This presentation may contain information regarding the ACN compensation plan, promotions, and product pricing, which has changed since the date of the recording. Views expressed and any claims or comparisons made by IBOs presenting are theirs and not ACN's. Please check acn.com and IBO back office for up-to-date information.
Come on now. Good afternoon, ACN. How many feel like you could just leave right now and go to work? Guys, how great of a job did MD Rahman just do? Can we give him a hand? I am so excited to be here today. For those of you, maybe we haven't met yet, I am from a little town in the western part of North Carolina. And I married my high school sweetheart when I was 19 years old. Which, come to find out, is actually old to get married in North Carolina. You got to work with me here, right? That's all I got. Right? We've been married 26 years. We have 3 kids, 21, 22, and 23. And we were traditional business owners prior to ACN. Who in the room has ever owned a business, by show of hands? Okay, so you understand that people who think business ownership is glamorous are people who've never owned one, right? Does that make sense? Because can we agree, in a business, if the economy turns, who's responsible? The business owner. What if you can't make payroll? The business owner. What if you can't make the rent? The business owner. And so understand that in traditional business, I ran my own companies for many years. We made a whole bunch of money, but then 2009, when the economy crashed in the United States, that was the end of our businesses. And I was really in a position, I was 35 years old. I didn't know what to do. And a friend of mine called me up and he said, "Hey, Michael, do you look at other ways of making money?" I said, "Who doesn't?" I drove north of our house. It was December, it was winter in the U.S. It was raining sideways. It was 40 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And it was raining. And I get out of my car at this home meeting and I step in a puddle of water up to my ankle, and water goes in my shoe. And here I am losing our businesses, our house is being foreclosed on. All of this happened in 6 months, and I'm walking into a home meeting that I have no idea what I'm walking into, and I've got water in my shoe. I remember going, "What are you doing? What are you here?" And I walked into that meeting, and Senior Vice President Michael Mazer came out. I don't believe in coincidence, guys. I just don't. I believe I was appointed to be there, like I believe you are appointed to be here today. And I believe the way you receive the information is everything about what you do with the information when you leave this building. So when I sat there and I heard Mr. Mazer speak, I said, you know what? If what he's telling me is true, I've found my last stop. And guys, I remember I told him, I said, "What do I have to do fast?" He said, "There's 3 things. You need to get a few customers, you need to do a huge home meeting, and you need to bring a bunch of people to the national convention." And those are the 3 things I sold out to. Within 6 months, we'd replaced the income of our companies within ACN. 9 years later, this is all we've done. It's been the greatest blessing and the smartest business decision we've ever made. But I share that with you because my topic today is mindset. How many here would say that you need to win? How many would say you need to win? Is there anybody in the room today that would say, "I have to win"? See, the reason I share that with you is because if you need to win, you'll probably let other things come between you and victory. But if you have to win, if you're like me and you have no choice. See, people ask me, what's the number 1 attribute you look for when you're recruiting? It's hunger. How many know if you see somebody on the street that lives on the street and they're hungry, they're going to figure out how to eat? How many know they might not eat what you'll eat, And you might not eat what they would eat, but when they're hungry, they figure out how to eat. And guys, in ACN, that's the first thing you have to understand is you have to absolutely be sold out. I want to tell you real quickly, if you see here on the screen, this is a picture of me in 1998. I'm the guy at the top with hair and a goatee. This is a group of people that there were 50 CEOs or presidents of technology companies in North Carolina. And I share this with you because I was young, I was learning, but we had a company that was growing very fast. And I'm in this room with these 50 presidents of all of these companies, and there were these two guys there. And it was interesting because they had these red top hats on. And everything that they would say to them, they did the opposite. Like we were supposed to walk up on the stage, get our award, get our picture, and walk off the stage. Well, then when they called them out, they walked straight up on the front of the stage. And the lady that was emceeing the event said, oh, you're supposed to go over there. But they didn't listen. They just came up, got their award, they were excited, and they walked off the stage. The next year, they were billionaires. They founded the company Red Hat. If you don't know who Red Hat is, it was just acquired by IBM as the third largest technology acquisition in the history of the United States. $34 billion. The next year, the same event took place. The MC stood up and said, we would like to call out the top people in growth. They called their names out and she said, you can come up on stage any way you want to. But I remember standing in a room talking and people were pointing at them and saying, who are these guys? Why would they wear that? Why are they not listening? Let me tell you, no one could steal what they knew was going to happen. No one could take their dream from them. And I watched that happen before my eyes, that they became some of the richest people in the entire world. See, what you have to understand is you have to be sold out to what you believe. You have to be sold out to your business. You can't have 99% belief in ACN. If you have to win here today, you have to have 100% belief in what we do. See, when you have 100% belief in what we do, then the ups and downs aren't as great. How many know it's easy to recruit people when you have belief? When you know that you're offering them a blessing, then the words just naturally come. The emotions aren't as big of a deal. And see, we've all seen this slide if we're in ACN. The company's the same, the services are the same, but what is the variable? Come on. You are. You decide whether you win or not. And see, the thing I want you to understand is ACN, everything starts with belief. Everything. There's a scripture in the Bible that it starts in Matthew 7:24 that says, those that hear the words I speak and put them into practice are like those who build their house on a rock. When the rain comes and the flood comes, the house stands. But those who hear the words and don't put them to practice are like those people who build their house on the sand. See, and understand that all of being sold out, this is everything in ACN. The belief you have at this event will catapult your success in our company. But you have to understand that you have to have belief to make that happen. When you know where you're going, when you have belief, you know where you're going. No one can tell you. The guys that founded Red Hat, no one could tell them they weren't going to win. They knew what they knew, and they were going to do it the way they wanted to do it, regardless of what anyone said they could or could not do. How many understand that concept? See, here's what I love about ACN. ACN is a rock. ACN is a rock. ACN is 26 years old. How many understand that ACN just received the Private Titan Award by Inc. magazine for 2018 in the United States? Do you know what that means? Private Titans means it's one of the most iconic brands in all business categories, in every business attribute in the United States, with companies like Uber and Chick-fil-A and all these major companies. We were one of those companies. 26 years into history, we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We have millions of satisfied customers. ACN is not up for debate whether it works or not. The question for you is, do you have to have it work for you? Because when you get the belief in place and you sell out 100%, that's when you're catapulted to success in ACN. See, it's the same for everybody. The question is, what do you do with it? Here's what I love about ACN. The founders of ACN innovate. They innovate. How many understand if we still sold long distance and that's all we sold, we probably wouldn't be here today? How many remember typewriters? How many remember tape recorders? How many remember VHS VCRs? I'm aging myself. Do you know that the people who repair those aren't doing very well right now? They had to innovate. And I'll tell you, here's an example. We have a company in the United States called Sears. It's one of the largest, most iconic brands in the history of our country. At one point, 1 in every 200 people worked for Sears in the United States. Let that sink in. 1 in every 200 people. And I used to lay in my grandmother's floor when I was a little guy with a Sears catalog. And I would turn to the toy section and I would make my Christmas list. And I would give that to my mom. And my mom would go to a company called Toys R Us. I think you guys used to have Toys R Us here. And she would get my Christmas presents. And that's the way it worked for millions of people. Today I live in Lakeland, Florida. Right across the street from our house is a mall called Lakeland Square Mall. I go there every Monday morning to do my calls. I sit in that parking lot because on the right side of my car is where Sears used to be. On the left side, you can see the imprint of where the sign Toys R Us used to be. See, neither of those companies innovated. Two of the most iconic companies in the world, and now they're gone because the founders did not innovate. I share that with you because I am so thankful that ACN innovates. I'm so thankful that they have new services. How many are excited about everything happening? And all the announcements that are going to take place tomorrow, you're going to be so fired up when you leave this place. Why? Because the ACN founders are already working 5 years from now for your opportunity. See, when they launched these services, every new service, they didn't call you up and say, hey, we need another $549. No, they said, oh, by the way, here's something else for you to market. Here's another way for you to add residual income for your family. See, sometimes we take those things for granted. Sometimes we don't understand just how powerful it is to have a hold of that. So if you see here, one thing that I want you to understand is your why has to be big enough. Because once you sell out, hear me, once you sell out, once you're 100% belief, once you know that you know, you're building your foundation on a rock, all of those things are in place. Now you have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. How many understand as a traditional business owner, owning your own business, if it's to be, it's up to me. You don't have anyone that says set your alarm for 6 a.m. You have to tell yourself to set your alarm. How many understand what I'm saying? You eat what you kill. That's what we say in the States. It's up to you. But what propels you and compels you is your why. It's the reason that you do ACN. You know that why. If your why, as a matter of fact, I want everybody to take out your notes if you're taking notes. Everybody do this. I want everyone to write down right now in 1 or 2 sentences why you do ACN. I want you to write it down. Why you do ACN. Once you do that, I have a question for everybody. 1 or 2 sentences. Your reason. What compels you? Why did you fly or drive to be here for 3 days? There's a reason. Now here's my question. Without ACN, can you fulfill your why? If the answer is yes, it's not big enough. I want your why to be so big that without massive success in ACN, you can't do it. Now, the same belief that you have to have in ACN, you have to see your why fulfilled. I want your why to stretch you. See, I watch people get an ACN and they make the why the $549 it costs to get an ACN. Somebody said today, when we were in leadership, how do you get someone engaged beyond 30 days? Their why is not big enough if they're engaged less than 30 days. See, here's the exciting part about franchising. How many know McDonald's costs $2 million plus to buy a McDonald's? Do you know when you buy a McDonald's, they don't remind you when training is? You show up early and you wear yellow. Why do you wear? Why? You're a team player. $2 million. Many people can't even qualify to buy a McDonald's and they have $2 million. But when you buy a McDonald's for $2 million, what's your why? $2 million. When you buy an ACN business, when you start your ACN company, it costs $549. Your why has to be bigger than that. Your why has to compel you and propel you through this process. The one thing I've learned in this business is the people with the biggest reason combined with people with the most belief in the business are the ones that have the biggest successes. If you see here, your why, what is it? Is it retirement? Is it financial freedom? Is it tuition? Maybe it's retiring your parents or family support or travel, right? Or maybe it's retire your spouse. For me, it was my 3 kids. My kids were going to go to Bible college, and how many know as a pastor, you're most likely you're not making enough money, right? You're not to be a pastor to make money, right? And so understand, my why was to get them through college without them having the financial burden. That's a big deal when you have 3 kids in college at the same time, right? So that why woke me up in the morning. It caused me to drive the miles. It caused me to move faster. Tomorrow I'm going to do a training on how to build a power leg. How many would love to build a leg with 10, 15, 20 regional directors, multiple regional vice presidents? We're going to show you practically how to do that. But if you don't get the belief in order, if you don't get the why in place, then you're going to look at the training and go, wow, that's great. That's great. And nothing's going to happen. See, our job in leadership is to prepare you here. So when you leave, you're prepared here. You're ready to go. How many understand? Your why has to be huge. How many have been on the roller coaster? Come on, it's okay. How many? Watch this. How many people, you had people that were supposed to be here and they're not here? Raise your hand real high. Look around, raise your hand. If they came, we couldn't get them in here. Right? We prepare for that. Why? That's human nature. But see, we ride that roller coaster. Why do we have emotion in ACN? It's because we deal with human beings. We deal with people. See, but when your why is big enough and your belief is in place, when someone tells you it won't work, you don't care. How many are okay with that? You heard Mr. Kupas do one of the greatest trainings I've ever heard on sorting for leaders. But when we, as people in ACN, as independent business owners, it doesn't matter how many times you hear sorting, it doesn't matter where you are in your ACN journey, when you see that person, you want them in the business. How many know you want to shake them into the business? What do you mean you don't see it? What do your wife just got laid off. What do you mean you don't see it? You need residual, you have kids. How many know what I'm talking about? Guys, but here's the thing you have to understand. People in today's world have been socially conditioned to work for someone else. See, how many know the name Henry Ford? How many, if I said, what did Henry Ford invent? What would you say? The car? right? Here's the thing, most people say the car. Do you know Henry Ford did not invent the car? He invented the assembly line. What's the assembly line? It's where you stand in the same place and you do the same thing for 8 to 10 hours a day for 40 years. People don't wake up and say, man, I just can't wait to get on an assembly line. And Henry Ford knew that. He and some of the greatest minds in business engineered the school systems in the United States. They engineered them to socially condition people to stand in an assembly line. This is the thing you have to understand, is this business, right? This business, we take people who are socially conditioned to say, I would never do that, or it's one of those things, or, right? That's all social conditioning. The more successful the person you talk to, the more they love what you do. That's the exciting part. But when you're talking to people and you're dealing with recruiting, you have to understand that you have to leave the emotion at the door. Most people aren't going to do this. You're not looking for most people. You don't need everybody. You just need somebody. How many understand that concept? When I got in ACN, I was out of my mind. I mean out of my mind. Like I couldn't sleep at night. How many understand? How many have had ACN insomnia? You wait till tonight, you wait till tomorrow night. I mean, it's 3 in the morning where I'm from, so I'm already half asleep. But I'm on AC and adrenaline. Well, I'm out of my mind. I was out of my mind, and then I talked to my first person. They confirmed it. I'll let that sink in for just a second. The conversation went something like this. You're doing what? First of all, okay, pause. How many have talked to skeptical people? Do you know why they're skeptical? Because you talk to them. When you say too much, they become skeptical. When you have belief, excitement, a huge why, you naturally fall into a process that delivers success. See, here's the thing you have to understand. You will use a script once you've sold out to a process. In the beginning, you get in, you're just like, ha, 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 and then you quit because somebody says boo. Here's how my conversation went. Why don't you just get a job? Well, you got 3 kids. Why are you doing that? And I went, but Mom. I'm not kidding. She was like, is this okay? Y'all okay with this? This is not being recorded, right? I'm just kidding. She said, I'm just kidding. Everybody's recording. I'm just playing. She knows, right? She said, I think that's dumb. Now it's like, I always knew you'd make it, baby. But I remember I did my first PBR. My first PBR. We ended up having 17 people sign up from that PBR. Do you know why we had 17? Because I didn't need to win. I had to win. When Mike Mazer said, you have to call 100 people, I called 100 people. I didn't say, well, I don't know if I know 100. No, I'm like, I'll call 100 because you said call 100. I mean, he wore pointy shoes. I had never had pointy shoes. On Monday, I had pointy shoes. Why? He told me, you do these things, it will deliver your success. I had to win. The belief plus the why, plus the process delivered the success. But I was out of my mind. My sister-in-law signed up. Now listen, my sister-in-law is an A player. My sister-in-law spent $20,000 on a sewing machine. You spend 20 grand on a sewing machine, you are an entrepreneur. She comes to my PBR, brings her 2 girlfriends. All 3 of them sign up. I'm over in the corner going, they're putting a credit card on it. And I'm like, you can go ahead and give me my SVP pin. She's going all the way. And then they all quit the next day. Oh yeah, it's funny. It's hilarious. Here's why I tell you this. That was 9.5 years ago. They'd never been to a meeting. They'd never seen anything. I called my brother up and I said, I have 4 seats. I want you and my sister-in-law to come to our SVP promotion. He said, it would be our honor. They came. If you see the picture on my Facebook page of my wife and I standing there and I'm like this and she's smiling, my sister-in-law took that picture. The afternoon after our SVP promotion, I got a text from my brother and his wife that said, words can't describe the pride we have. Now think about that. I literally almost quit the business when they quit. And my mentor said, Michael, you had 17 people sign up. You had 3 people quit. Why are you focused on the 3 people who quit? You have 14 people who want to win. See, we are naturally drawn to negative. How many understand? We are naturally, how many have ever heard this? You think that's bad, wait till you hear this. People don't say, well, man, that's great, but let me tell you how great this is. You only hear that in here. See, out there, people are conditioned. It is what it is. You break through the conditioning through your belief, your excitement, and your commitment to consistency until you win. But you're going to ride the roller coaster. You're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go up, you're going to go down. But the key here, keep the bar down. This is one of the most important sentences that I believe exists in ACN. The easiest way to kill a big dream is to tell it to a small-minded person. See, here's what you have to understand. Some of the greatest dreams and whys in ACN have been stolen by people with good intentions. They're not bad people. They just don't know what they don't know. People are going to come out of the woodwork to try to steal your focus leaving this event. It's normal. The people in the room who will be regional and senior vice presidents on this stage are the ones that move through them, move around them, move over them, move under them, move through them without losing a relationship with them until you win. How many understand that concept? See, once you have belief, once you're 100% sold out, the decisions are easy. The destination is given. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. And no is not no forever. One of my top people said no to me. He's a pastor. His name is Bishop Randy Borders. We're from the same hometown. He speaks all over the world. He was top 5 on my list. I called him up and said, Randy, do you look at other ways of making money? Nope, I'm busy. Great, no problem. We saw each other. I didn't mention it. Every year I called him. What'd I say? Every year I called him. The 3rd year I called him, he said, you know what? Call my wife Norma. I called Norma. Hey, Norma, does Randy look at other ways of making money? She said, no. I hung up. 3.5 years into business, I was having Mexican food with my wife. I remember the booth I was in. I remember the table I was at. And I looked down and Randy was calling me. And I picked up the phone and I said, hey man, how you doing? He said, it's time. I said, it's time for what? He said, I'm signing up in your business. I said, why? He said, I'm not going to let you make any more money unless I get a piece of it. When you sell out, people are attracted to you in that process. See, people will follow people with vision before they follow people with money. Is anybody getting anything? I did a meeting one night, and it was over video, and it was in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was for a friend of mine there. I did not know, but he had one of the most successful icons of business in the room there that night, a guy that books have been written about, the former chairman of the International Franchise Association with names like Ray Kroc. He was in the room. I get a phone call after the meeting. He said, this gentleman would like to talk to you. I'm like, great. We get on the phone. He says, I like what I saw. He said, when are you going to be in Nashville again? And I said, what a coincidence. I'm going to be there tomorrow. He said, could you stop by the house? I'm like, yes, sir. Wrote down his address. He lived in a prestigious place called Belle Meade. I drove to his house. It went something like this. He had tennis courts. He had Olympic-sized swimming pools. I walked in and he said, come in the house. Do you like art? I said, sure. I didn't think his art and my art were the same. We go in this hall, and it's about from here to the end of the stage, and it was all marble. And he said, see this lighting? I said, yeah. He said, I had this entire hallway built for that painting. That's a different kind of money. He said, which kitchen would you like to have lunch in? I went, the first one. We go in the kitchen. His wife comes in, his 2 adult kids come in. Now, I think I was a regional director at the time. And I'd made money in ACN, but he made more in a week than I'd made in ACN. This guy took a company from $100 million in revenue to $2.1 billion, took it public. He was president of some of the most iconic companies in the history of the U.S. He's on the board of directors today for a company you have here called Krispy Kreme Donuts. That's the sound my wife makes. She has Krispy Kreme. He's on the board. This guy's a stud. So I'm sitting there talking to him, and here's what he says to me. First of all, he says, I see in ACN for $500 odd the same opportunity that I sell franchises for $2 million for. He said, and this is why I share this. He said this statement to me. For me to win, I need to make your vision my vision. He had seen 15 minutes of ACN. How many just got something? See, it doesn't matter how much money you have. I dropped out of college. I'm sitting at a table of a man who's probably made $1 billion, and he says to me, I need to make your vision my vision. Because in order to win, you have to believe. In order to win, you have to sell out. And that's what was happening at that table. I signed him up, his wife up, both his kids up before I left the kitchen table. I transferred that belief. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is ACN is about lifestyle. You have to have long-term what? Vision. You have to have belief. You have to sell out. You have to say, you know what? If not this, what? See, in my opinion, you're looking at the greatest opportunity on the planet. My grandfather, who just turned, I said this last time I was here, my grandfather just turned 90, and he just got married. She's 20 years younger than him and has highlights in her hair. I don't know if this translates, but my kids were like, he robbed the cradle. My grandfather, I remember when I was a little guy, my grandfather took me to this oceanfront property. By the way, this is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my life. Gold Coast is unbelievable. I just have to throw that out there. It is unbelievable. I stood, this is a little bird trail. I stood in the sand this morning at 5:30 a.m. and I watched the sunrise. And you know what I did? I thanked the Lord that I was standing in Gold Coast because of what ACN has done for our family for a decade. So I just put that out there. But my grandfather took me to this oceanfront property. There was a big house there. And he said, Michael, 30 years ago, or whatever it was, I could have bought that property for $50,000. Today it's worth millions. Now, I didn't understand the conversation back then. But today I look back and I realized he was telling me because it bothered him. He still thought about it every day. This moment in this room, in this company, is that. Never again can you say you didn't have a chance. Never again can you say I wasn't at the right place at the right time. Never can you say that I never had an opportunity to win at the highest level. Guys, everything you want to accomplish is in your hands in this room, but you have to activate it with 100% belief. You have to sell out to it. And today and tomorrow, you need to glean all the information in Sunday that is given here. And you need to take the information and you need to put it to work. And you need to win for you and your family because you deserve to win. That's the most important thing that I can share with you. But to wrap this up, let me give you 3 things. These are the 3 things that you have to take action upon. See, we get hung up on stuff in ACN. Where we start trying to figure stuff out and we start doing all this personal development. We buy all these books and that's all good. Listen, there's nothing wrong with personal development. But personal development does not pay you. Reading a book does not pay you. Do you know what pays you? Getting a customer. Do you know what pays you? Helping a new IBO get a customer. You know what pays you? Getting people to conventions so they go get customers. That's what pays you. And the simpler you keep this process to 3 things. Number 1, get good at customers. Don't try to be an expert at everything or you'll be good at nothing. Pick 1 or 2 things and learn them and sell out to them. And number 2 is you have to become a great recruiter. The greatest companies in the world are the greatest recruiters in the world. Like I'm a big fan of NFL football. Anybody, American football? And the New England Patriots. I'm not a fan. It's not my team, but they always win. They're probably going to win this year just because. But do you know why they win? Because Bill Belichick is the best recruiter in the league. He recruits on Christmas Day. One of my great friends is the coach of Florida State women's basketball. And I talked to her one day. I said, when do you recruit? She said, 365 days a year. She said, that's the only way to win. See, Sears and Toys R Us, they didn't recruit. They rested on their laurels. They rested on their past. They said, our past will always deliver our future. 3rd thing is promoting events. You have to become a master at promoting events. Every single person in this room, you need to register for the next event before you leave here, period. Period. It's part of belief. Every reason you can't is the reason you have to. And then I want to leave you with this. Your rear view mirror in your car is smaller than your windshield. You have eyes in the front of your head, not in the back of your head. Your past is your past. Your past doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is this moment forward. The reason that the rearview mirror is so small and the windshield is so big is because if you just focus on the past, you're going to crash. In ACN, it's all about the future. Guys, you are the future. The question is, who here dares to believe it? God bless you guys. Thanks for having me.